everybody, what's going on? It is Mr. Hino with Miss Hino's Lego Robotics. Today's video, in my title, I did not want to say awesome robotics teacher. I did not want to say great robotics teacher. The reason I put just a good robotics teacher is, I don't know, I just didn't feel like I had any kind of measuring stick for awesome or wonderful or off the chart. And you know, teaching is not about how I feel about myself. I just wanted the best for my robotic students. But today, the three things that I feel I did that my robotic students were able to thrive, and I felt like I was doing a good job in the classroom being the robotics teacher. So without further ado, let's hit it. Number three, the first thing I felt like I did that made a huge change in the way I felt about my students, my class, and just robotics in general was mixing up what I did in my class. So for instance, we would do projects where they would have instructions. We did the Lego EV3 main core projects. So we did the puppy, we did the gyro boy, we did the color sorter, and we did the robot arm. And those were awesome to get my students used to, navigating the instructions, navigating being able to share with their partner the responsibility of taking care of the kit, the parts and the pieces, sharing the responsibility of building the robot, and then programming it and showing me that they were able to put everything together. And so, but I knew that there was more to robotics than that. So I felt really good when we were able to mix in what they knew to competitions. So I would have my students learn about the different parts of programming it, how to put a stop, use their sensors, because sensors are a huge part of robotics. And so once they knew that, then we were able to move on to cool classroom competitions like the sumo bot competition, where they were now able to go, I understand how to use the ultrasonic sensor, so now I'm going to use that to detect my opponent. I know how to use my color sensor, so it will keep my robot on the sumo table rather than falling off. And then they were able to use what they learned about to, utilize what they knew about building their robot to be able to use like physics, being able to push a robot off rather than you getting pushed off around the table. So it was neat to be able to then move in that direction where they can now compete against each other and be able to give them the freedom to say, hey, here are the specifications of your sumo bot. You now take the ball and run with it and be creative. A lot of my students, I felt like they wanted to move away from just pages and pages of instruction and be able to move into, hey, I want to be able to do things my own way. And so, and then being able to use other competitions, being able to have them do projects where they could take what they learned and create something. So we have the instruction side, we had the creative side, we had the competition side. And then lastly, I felt like it was great when I was able to just let them create something on their own. So we had certain projects where I said, everybody, as long as you can prove that your robot helps out something in the world, I want you to be able to create what you want. So that's where we had the trash can robot, where the students told me, they said, Miss, I hate taking the trash out. My parents hate taking the cans out to the curb so the truck can come pick it up. And so they thought that would make the world so much better if trash cans took themselves out, and utilizing sensors and knowing the problems involved with those sensors. So they were able to just have a wide variety of experiences in robotics, where it wasn't just follow instructions and program it, move on to the next project, instructions and programming it. Giving them a sense of ownership, creativity, I felt was a great part of our class and helping me feel like I was a good teacher. The second thing I felt was another breakthrough in our class was to be able to embrace organized chaos. I know I was coming from a situation where I taught sixth grade math, and everything is, hey, be in your seat, make sure you're on task. Everybody should be doing the same thing. And then moving to robotics, everybody's doing something different. I had students that would be on a first Lego League competition project. I had some folks that were building things from instructions. I had other groups that were competing against each other. So I had teachers come to my room and they're like, Miss, how do you handle all these kids standing up, walking around? Everybody seems to be on a different thing. And I was like, that's the way our class rolls. Everybody's on something different. Everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. And in teaching, that's what you want. Everybody should be on task if everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. That's when you run into trouble. When students get into trouble is, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't understand the instructions. In my class, the organized chaos was absolutely fine because everybody knew what their job was. Once we get this done, then we're moving to this project. And so everything rotated beautifully as long as the students know what is next. Um, you know, that's when I would utilize classroom tutors where they would say, okay, guys, we've done this project before. Let's go ahead and show you what to do. Because, they say in learning, 90% of your learning happens when you're able to show somebody else what you learned. And so being able to have my class, my students, just being able to rotate, be up out of their seats. I mean, guys, come on. In school, so much of their day is in a seat, learning, listening on on some type of device. I wanted my class to break out of that mold. They've been sitting for so long. In middle school, they're probably sitting for 50 minutes. And my students would tell me, thank you so much for letting us stand up, walk around, be on the floor. Because in our last class, we had to be in a seat and, we had to be on task. We had to be, everybody had to be quiet. And I wanted my class to be different because we were an elective class. That's where you're supposed to have the most fun, be able to get up and move around and not be stuck in a seat. And the third thing, I felt like I was a good robotics teacher when I was allowed to just embrace the fact that I did not know everything. Um, my big quote or response a lot in class was, "Oh, no, I don't know how to do that. Let's figure that out." Because so much time in math, when I would teach math, it's like, Miss, I don't understand how to find the volume of a cylinder. And hey, let's go over and let's look at the formula. You had to have that answer ready. You can't sit there and go, sorry, I don't know that. Let's Google it. I mean, in math, you just had to know your topics. You had to know your standards. In robotics, at the time that I started, there weren't any standards listed. They weren't, they didn't say, you have to teach them this, you have to teach them this. And so, you started to have this anxiety, like if a student asks me something, what do I do if I don't know? And I had to embrace the quote, I don't know, let's figure this out. Or let's go over to this group because I just saw them figure that out. Let's ask them what they did. I had to embrace learning things on my own, learning things from my students, because the people that tell you the students know more about technology than sometimes we do, they're not lying. They're correct. A lot of times I had to find out things from my student, like, oh, is that how you do that? And then I was able to tell other students. And there was no judgment. I never heard a student say, Miss, how come you didn't know that? It was so brand new. We had to just learn it together. And so I had to embrace the community learning aspect of robotics. Like, guys, we're in this together. We're going to figure this out. And once I got confident with that, I was a good robotics teacher. I had to let go of the, oh, wow, let me fake an answer so I'll look like I know what I'm talking about. I had to drop all the pride and go, guys, I really don't know. I'm going to learn this with you so I can teach your classmates and I can tell the next year's students with confidence, this is what we learned last year. So it was never about it was all about we. We are going to learn this together. as a class community. And the next year came around. This is what we learned last year. It was never about, well, I am such a good robotics teacher that this is what I know. I mean, it just, that confidence came with learning new things every day until the point where it's like, oh, I've seen that before. You know, for those of you that remember the EV3 bricks, how, you know, you had to press certain buttons to reset it, or the battery issue, you know, if the brick wasn't turning on, you had to, that little coil that you just had to lift up so it made the connection with the battery. You see things so many times, you're like, ah, I've seen that before. And the students embrace that confidence. They're like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, because of so many times of having the same issue. So all of this to say, guys, I just felt like I became a good robotics teacher when I was able to embrace those three things to know, in order to make my students feel confident, comfortable, and to be able to just thrive in my robotics class. So I hope you guys will take one of those, two of them, or all three, and embrace it and try it in your class and see if you feel like you are a good robotics teacher. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. I am Mr. Hino from Miss Hino's Lego Robotics. I am out.
He's out.
He's out.
We got this.
We got this.
We got this, guys.
Hey guys, Mr. Hino here. Thank you so much for watching. And if you love robotics, don't forget to check out these videos also, because they're cool. Okay guys, take care.